A man kneels, begging the group to stop messing with the shop's swords. The leader gut punches the seller. He tells the shopkeeper it's just research. A stranger warned him these merchants are tied to bandits, so he demands to see the sword. He recognizes the captured bandit's sword. Wincing, the owner asks if it's just a common blade. Locals scatter at the sight of the knights, and the shopkeeper refuses to trade with bandits. Forget him, check that shady blacksmith outside the walls. The knight captain asks about the weird smith again, and the man confirms it all. Blacksmiths outside the walls aren't in the guild, beat them up, and they'll give you anything. Meet Ruts, a creepy blacksmith who forges alone in total silence. The commander hesitates, but the owner doubles down, calling the unregistered MC a suspicious fraud with a hidden agenda. The knight agrees, but hauls the owner to the guardhouse for smuggling bandit weapons. He called him a snitch, who shakes down colleagues for cash and a lecture. He asks his ally, what's the plan for that shady blacksmith? It's pointless. He can't smell money, and touching a blacksmith behind the walls? Forget it. He dismissed him as a trash-tier smith with zero stock, while Ruts kept forging. He hammers the glowing metal into a sword. It all starts with a nameless blacksmith. The kid's grinding, face locked in with pure focus. A mysterious sword has this man under its spell. This blade spans the globe and every era. The old man strokes his beard as the girl smiles. This sword will drive everyone mad. Stunned, Ruts announced everything was ready. He eyes the blade. It's not perfect, but the sword is finally finished. Ruts tosses an apple over his new blade to test its sharpness. The apple is sliced clean in half. Ruts didn't even feel the apple's weight as he sliced it. This blade was incomparable. He admired the stunning blade, a weapon built for death, yet the hero couldn't understand its haunting beauty. The sword is striking, but a girlish silhouette suddenly flashes in the reflection. The world's most beautiful girl appears, grabs his face, and leans in for a kiss. Suddenly, the girl transforms into a sword. He hits the floor, toppling a table of apples in a confused daze. Ruts set the sword on its stand and covered it. He sits facing the weapon and exhales. He knew something was off, but couldn't figure out the sword. A normal smith would sell this for a fortune, without regret. He's not in the guild. Try to sell it, and he's kicked out instantly. If it's stolen, you're going to prison. Bandits will just snatch him. We need a better plan, but the hero is clueless, or asks what to do with the sword. The door bursts open with a greeting, and Ruts jumps in shock. Claudia barges in, and he tells her to knock, realizing she's totally tactless. Claudia's gorgeous until she speaks a dealer hunting for way more than just a blacksmith's gear. Business is dead. Orders are finished, so the hero lets the girl explore as much as she wants. She strokes his head, arriving just in time to test his new trick. Claudia swings the axe. She liked the result. Ruts noted her sharp eye for quality. She takes every axe he owns and orders him to load the cart. He snaps, but she cuts him off, playing the fragile girl card, so he'll haul all 20 heavy axes. He slams the table, calling Claudia a total jerk. She spotted the cloth-wrapped sword. She walks up and asks if this is his new creation. Ruts shoved it aside. It's not for sale. She says the seller and blacksmith have to negotiate the sale first. She shoves him back and unwraps her blade. The glorious weapon appears, and Claudia blushes. She asks if Ruts forged the blade. Ignoring her, he tells her to shop elsewhere. He revealed it unexpectedly, but as the creator, he wants answers. The blade glints in their eyes as Claudia grabs it. She gave it a swing. This blade was legit. Just holding it made her feel like a master. Retz warns her to be careful one touch, and she'll lose a finger. It's a beautiful blade, unlike its creator. She chattered like nothing happened. Classic Claudia. It was all an illusion. He thought he could break minds, but she's fine. So his power is something else. He catches her trying to kiss the sword. He yanks Claudia away from the sword. She slams into the floor. The hero snatches the sword. She asks what he's doing, isn't it dangerous? He warns her she's being way more reckless. If she needs to be mad, he's her target. She sits up, blanking on her next move. The last few minutes are a total blur. Rut says she'll lick the blade, confirming his theory. This blade holds insane power. It can captivate anyone. Claudia saw he wouldn't sell and asked his plan. But the hero had no clue what to do with the sword. She warns that guildless life is brutal, but he snaps, demanding she find a connection for the sword. She's stunned. How rich is he to just buy it? He asks if the hero found a buyer. What's his price tag? She knew he'd ask. The poor blacksmith was an open book. She priced the blade at 50 gold, but a sword-obsessed noble might pay 100 bats. He's pleasantly shocked. He's stunned. A sword can build a house, but she laughs, asking what he'll do if it doesn't sell. She offers her body as payment. The hero asks if she's worth a whole house, but she laughs to make it fair. He'd need to add 3 more swords. Claudia thanks the loader, promising to return once the sword sells. For now, they part ways. They'll meet again in 2 or 3 days. Rutz hits the workshop, weighing that 100 gold price tag. He's efficient but stagnant, just like this unsellable blade. The hero smirks at the irony. He didn't care if the sword sold. He'd guard the workshop as its spirit. For some reason, our MC is fuming. Rutz stalks the street, cursing Claudia. She promised to meet in 3 days, but it's been a week, and she's missed her usual order. He's got no time. After midday, it's nothing but drinking. He hits the bar, and the bartender greets him, noting he's doing well. Kid calls him humorless bored. The man tells him to drink up and recover. Rutz broods over Claudia, a week of silence. The bartender is stunned. Hearing Claudia's in prison, he chokes on his drink. Stunned, he asked again. The bartender heard the rumors too. The knights were busy fighting street thugs, but Rutz couldn't see Claudia's connection. Knights tortured the bandits, exposing their merchant sponsors. Now the raids are on, and Claudia's caught in the crossfire. He can believe Claudia helped bandits, but the bartender calls the knights glorified thieves. It's a direct accusation, and the hero is left baffled. He didn't know. They only guard paying traders, and the kid's fuming. It's all about the money. Catch traders, release them, and extort them for protection money. That's how these pathetic knights profit. The boy jumps up, asking what happens to non-payers. The man's answer, they become servants. The hero thought Claudia was for sale. He's shocked they do this for cash. The bartender confirms it. Everyone's furious, but they're all powerless to stop it. The man asked if Rutz was really bailing Claudia out. He asks if he looks rich. The man laughs. If he had a job, he wouldn't be drinking since noon. Claudia's bound behind bars in a filthy cell, crawling with spiders, cobwebs, and mystery sludge among the floor scraps. She's shocked to be locked in this dump. Is beauty really a crime? She takes a swig, complaining about the rough nights and demanding they untie her so she can actually eat. Footsteps. She bolts to her feet. The night commander enters her cell. She missed her taxes, and they want to feed a freeloader. She's a looker, and he's eyeing her up. He's selling her to a brothel. But first, he demands she work. Now it's time for her first test. Claudia mocks their praise. Why are they targeting a simple city girl? If the bosses find out, they're dead. He nods. Don, just scratch the goods. Scars aren't needed for his brand of fun. He skips the violence, just ordering her to be a good girl. She's locked away where no one can hear her. She tries to scream, but he muzzles her. One bite, and they'll beat her to death. Rutz bursts into the cell, demanding they stop. Claudio's stunned to see the guy. She calls his name through tears. The knights demand his identity, but the boy says he's only there to look after her. He's here to bail her out. Bail is 20 gold, but he's broke and can't pay a cent. Instead, he pulls a sword the girl values at 100 gold. The knights were stunned. He had a sword. They drew their weapons too. Ruts warns them, "Don't make him kill. He's not here for trouble. Just the sword for Claudia." She had no clue what he meant. Wasn't this his most precious thing? The knights laughed, mocking the sword's 20 gold price tag. Hero agrees, but Claudia warns him, "Don't be reckless." He swings and strikes. He strikes the bottle, but nothing happens. The commander realized he wasn't a threat, just a negotiator. Suddenly, the bottle he struck split in half, the top hitting the floor. He was stunned. Wait, the bottle didn't even budge, split clean in two. This blade is surgical. Ruts pegged the guy as a low-ranking noble's son. Miss this chance, and the sword is gone. They'd never find another blade like it. A knight admits it. This sword is the real deal. He's fascinated. This magic blade is worth a lifetime of work. The boss admitted the sword was worth it and demanded I hand it over. Ruts isn't playing games. He demands Claudia and immediately snatches her by the scruff of the neck. He tosses her into the guy's arms. He demanded the sword, making the hero feel like he was handing his daughter to a freak. No choice. It's built for battle. He catches the sword. The knights inspected the sword, absolutely thrilled. Ruts paid the bail and corrected them. It's a sword, not a blade. Ruts and Claudia hit the streets. She smiles, and he realizes just how rough his day was. They hit the market past vegetable vendors. Exhausted and starving, he's desperate to wrap himself in his blankets and pass out. She keeps following him. He turns. "Why follow me? Isn't your house the other way?" No home, no cart, nothing left. The knights took everything. She asks to stay, but he has no clue what she's saying. She asks why he's worried. He wants to leave her alone in a field, so he lets her stay. She saw Ruts was struggling. With a beauty around, he couldn't focus on his spear. The hero demanded a serious answer. She asks why he saved her and gave up his sword. He just scratches his head, clueless. He tossed 100 gold like trash. She doesn't understand her own actions, but she doesn't care. Blushing, he turned away, calling her his seller. Still no buyer for the blade, and he hates knights. Claudia smirked, telling her she could explain his actions in a few words. She leaps down the stairs, slamming onto his back. The boy yells danger on the stairs as Claudia whispers his name. She says he's into her. He denies everything, telling her to stop as his attitude shifts. Sick of his talking, she shuts him up with a kiss. They locked eyes on the stairs. She pulls away and heads downstairs, glancing back at the guy standing there dazed. Claudius thanked him and promised to return his sword. He blushes, imagining her hands. She already offered her body for that sword. Fresh out of prison, Ruts is unfazed. She recalls him saying, "It's actually a good thing the villains seized that sword." He's confused, but she says the world needs to see his work. They'll brag about his blade until the higher-ups notice, turning it into a local legend. If this happens, forget the knights. The elite stockers will hunt for Rhett's products. Hero calls it a dream, but Claudia snaps him back to reality. Great weapons always find new masters. Soon, they'll uncover the swordsmith's name, Ruts. He's hyped that this sword will make him a legend. Reality hits, and he screams. She asks what happened, but he croaks like a squashed frog. He forgot to sign the sword. Claudia joins the workshop. His mistake cost him his sword skills, but the blade saved a life, and he has zero regrets. But he had a bad feeling. Swinging his blade, the stranger calls it love, and demands to find the masterpiece master. Decado is the Count's top adventurer. Hero is just a nickname, not a title for slaying demon kings, but his raw power makes him the go-to guy for He slays the monster and claims his reward, ditching the gold for weapons. Ricardo's new blade shreds wooden targets with ease. He's impressed. This iron sword is way lighter than he expected. Gay Heart added a weight reduction spell to fight endless enemies without tiring. Thanking him for the gift, top-rank Joseph reveals the man is his teacher, the spellcaster Gerhard. Spells use rituals to imbue weapons with special effects. The teacher is a Count-rank mage, one of the best casters in the country. Gerhard exhaled, sat down, and announced he was done. Joseph enters the workshop and praises him. The boy figured the sword was for Ricardo, and the mage confirmed it. The old man asks for a verdict on the new blade. The knight calls it flawless, as always. Boasting his skills are absolute, Gerhard reveals the spell he cast on Joseph was just for weight loss. The knight tried to object, but the mage already fixed the spell, making the sword even lighter. This spell is perfect for a massive blade and matches Ricardo's style, a master's perfect plan. Gerhard just laughed. Ricardo would be thrilled. He'd boosted the spell's power instantly, and the teacher's fame was about to skyrocket. The Count turns to Ricardo, confirming the monsters are wiped out, mission complete. Count Xander rewards the boy with a sword forged by the nation's top blacksmith and enchanted by Gerhard. Ricardo thanked him and asked to inspect the blade. The Count agreed, and he grabbed the sword. He draws his blade. The blade's blinding glow proved they'd forged another masterpiece. Ricardo looks grim, and Joseph and Gerhard notice. The adventurer gave a fake thanks for the epic sword. Joseph was baffled. Was the man disappointed? Gerhard thinks Ricardo is just repeating himself, missing the spell's massive power boost. He glares back, totally unimpressed. The crowd swarms Gerhard, praising his unmatched skill and begging for new blades. Knight knows the teacher saw that look. Everyone stands fast, but the master is fuming. The old man forged this sword out of habit. He got cocky. One look at his blade proved the old man was a rookie, and now the master's changed. Gerhard snaps, hurling his swords as Joseph tries to stop him. He clutched his head, realizing spell power scales with sword-quality basic blades mean basic magic. Knight senses the tension and calms the teacher, telling him to stop the self-pity. His swords are legendary, and every knight wants one. Gerhard froze because everything fit. How is the Namakura a great sword? He asks if consistent quality proves the teacher is a true master. Gerhard claims true mastery requires creating the unseen. Joseph falls silent. The old man collapsed, screaming he'd forge a blade to crush this adventurer. No matter how many sleepless nights it took, the old man faces Joseph. He demanded a weapon to spark his creative drive. Somewhere, the perfect sword is waiting. With it, he'll forge his ultimate blade. The knight itself was stunned. Gerhard says he's his only hope. Joseph walked off, mulling over his teacher's heavy words. What was this ideal sword, and did it even exist? He shakes it off. He knows that sword is real. Teacher only wields Burubus blades, the nation's top smith, with unmatched steel. This city's massive search hard, and you'll find a hidden master to forge your blade. He needs a top-tier blade and a master smith. At the shop, he learns nothing tops Borbus's blade. Blacksmiths claimed he'd never outdo Borbus. The guild worker realized these blades and smiths would flip the city's weapon market upside down. He scours every forge in the city, nothing. Finding a decent blade around here is tough. Teacher and Ricardo have sharp eyes. Only a sword worth the Count's treasure will satisfy them. Joseph recalled the teacher's warning. The boy had to go in. Desperate, the knight couldn't believe he'd scored this perfect sword. Joseph Sao is deep in thought until a young man interrupts. Startled, he asks if his friend ever learned to knock, but the guy apologizes. It's an emergency. A fight erupted at the night company, and they're already swinging a new blade. Joseph wants sword intel, but the guy's clueless. He'll have to check it out himself. Joseph and his friend sprinted to the scene. A man demanded to know what they'd done. The other knights started bad-mouthing their commander. He stole the sword they earned together. Joseph was baffled. He'd never seen a blade this thin. Was it some foreign weapon? He kept screaming, "It's his sword, and no one touches it." A knight shouts they won the sword together, but Joseph snaps, demanding to know what together even means. The knights realized the boss heard everything they'd framed the merchants just to extort a massive deposit. He realized the truth. They stole that sword. Joseph saw they were no knights and moved to seize their weapons. The scarred knight shuts him up. He swings his blade. A girl appears, and Joseph is stunned. She wraps her arms around the knight's neck, his eyes going wild. Gerhard's apprentice is stunned as a woman emerges from the sword. The knight refuses to yield his sword. His comrades try to calm him. This is no toy. Joseph's baffled by the ghost woman behind him. She appeared when he drew his blade, and the knight refuses to surrender it. His eyes were wild. He blamed the sword, but he was just obsessed with her. He claimed her that night, vowing they'd always be together. As he leaned in to kiss the stranger, she reverts to a sword. He kisses the edge, slicing his face and shocking his crew. The others rush to help, clueless that he wounded himself. The man grinned like his face was sliced open. Joseph was horrified. He'd never seen a sword like that. Retz is impressed. Joseph explains they only caved after he threatened to expose their dirty operation. The old man eyed the face-slicing blade. The student stops the teacher, but his new sword is cursed. Gerhard calms Joseph, sensing zero magic, and flashing his protective gear. Joseph apologizes, but warns him to stay alert. The old man nods in agreement. Gerhard unsheathed the sword, unable to fathom its mysterious, overwhelming power. Blood stained the blade. Joseph cleaned it after the incident, but warns it'll rust if left like this. He apologizes and offers treatment, but gets told idiots shouldn't handle swords. He cleans the blade himself. He couldn't read the teacher's face, a twisted mix of rage and delight. He rushed to sharpen the blade, but gave it a bizarre look. He senses the same aura as the self-cutter. A hand sprouts from the blade. Is it another illusion? He's not just sharpening the blade, he's caressing it like a woman. Gerhard catches his reflection in the blade. Joseph checks his master hyped. The master nods. He's forgotten the fight, but he finally understands. He raised his sword and called it love. The old man looks inspired, but as Joseph repeats his speech on love, he's completely unsure. Gerhard felt he'd finally created his masterpiece, a sensation only a master knows, one even kings and the Holy Father can't touch. Joseph's glad the teacher's inspired. Now he can forge the world's ultimate sword. The apprentice delivered the sword. Gerhard starts the ritual now. Gerhard enchants the sword, hoping the owner returns soon. The boy tries to help, but the teacher needs total focus. One distraction could ruin the sword. The knight warns the teacher to stay sharp. That sword is dangerously unpredictable. He sets the sword on a stand atop a patterned cloth. He slots gems into the corners. With the final stone, the blade erupts in light. Energy surges from the blade. One wrong move, and it'll devour him. A girl's silhouette appears. Gerhard wonders when he'll get another thrill like this, begging the sword to go easy. He readies the perfect spell and whips out a special tool. This chisel won't hurt her. It carves symbols to grant her new power. He begged the blade to endure. The sword resisted. The old man locked in. One slip up, and the sword devours his mind. This blade shatters the mind. He's obsessed who forged it and why. The smith left no name, making the mystery irresistible. He tells the sword to yield. It's not an enemy, it's order. To perfect it, the old man needs a stronger spell. He's finally found his power. While the state sleeps, the sorcerer Gerhard stays awake, perfecting his new creation. Days later, Ricardo finishes the demon hunt and visits the Count, leaving the maids swooning over his power, and looks. The maid eyes the handsome adventurer. He crushed a wyvern without a scratch, a total hero. She wonders what sword the Count will gift him next. Ricardo expects another magic sword from Gerhard this time. He's stoked for the new blade. This collector only cares about steel, especially since his last sword was a total piece of junk that left him fuming. Ricardo turns, shocked by Joseph's skeletal face, and demands to know what happened. The knight offers the bracelet, but the boy has no clue what he's holding. Gerhard's student says this win earns him a new sword. Ricardo gives a hesitant thanks. This bracelet stabilizes your mind. Wear it to claim a new magic sword. Joseph nearly died. Seeing his terrified face, the adventurer asked what kind of monster he'd faced. The knight reveals this sword is charmed, forcing everyone, even the owner, to draw their blades. Ricardo's stunned. This blade even affects a high-ranking knight like him. Gerhard's apprentice confirms the truth and warns his ally to reject the reward. This sword is terrifyingly powerful, but the adventurer says it's impossible. This blade was forged just for him. Refuse it, and Mr. Gerhard is disgraced. He can refuse. His weapon-obsessed soul won to let him. Joseph saw it coming and told him put the bracelet on first. Ricardo's a demon-slaying legend. No magic sword is gonna control him. The Count hailed Ricardo as a protector and true hero for crushing the strongest monsters. Ricardo brushes off the flattery, so the Count orders Gerhard to hand over his reward. The mage's weird look put him on high alert. He couldn't read their faces. Teasing, provoking Joseph and Gerhard was safe, so why stare at the sword like that? Ricardo thanks the mage but thinks it's all stupid magic or not. A sword is a sword. He wondered if this charm spell would be useful in battle. Joseph says charm is useless in battle. It only works after the enemy is already down. The adventurer asks to draw his blade, and the Count nods. He eyed the sword, another failure. He's an adult, so thanks is fine, but this trash sword won't cut it. I open the sword, and the world ignites. A sweet scent fills the air as his bracelet burns hot. Suddenly, his hands lock up, and his entire body follows. A hand seized his head. The woman from the sword glares back with pure madness. Ricardo saw it was a woman, as a sword appeared by his side. Her blade is a perfect match for his. She's actually gonna cut it. She raises her blade. He doesn't flinch. She strikes his sword, snapping the katana in half. Ricardo grips his sword and screams, face twisted in terror. He snaps to, gasping for air as he scans the area. The crowd's stunned. The Count demands to know why he's screaming. Did he hate the reward? He denies it, claiming the sword's beauty forced a scream out of him. The Count offered a trade if he wasn't happy with the sword. He didn't need another sword. This was the only one. He instantly saw it was a top-tier blade, but Ricardo was clueless. Gerhard smirked at the adventurer, leaving Ricardo baffled. The Count praised Gerhard's reward choice and asked the adventurer to keep protecting their lands. Drinking with Joseph, the exorcist laughs, asking if he saw Ricardo's blue face. He's dying to see it. Joseph's stunned Ricardo didn't go for the throat. Gerhard asks why, but Joseph warns it's a huge mistake. A knock at the workshop door. Gerhard knows the hero is here. Ricardo bursts in, demanding answers. He's confused, but the man warns him this sword is cursed. Garrett says he wasn't forced. The guy asks about the girl. Ricardo saw the ghost girl too. She's coming for his life. But curse or ghost, what's the difference? Gerhard tells him to stay calm as a stunning girl appears. Ricardo's livid. Is this sword actually smart? The old man warns, this blade is so beautiful, it drives anyone insane. Testing a spell out of curiosity reveals a god-tier magic sword, and Ricardo is livid. The mage offers to swap the boy's blade for a basic sword if he refuses to use it. Ricardo says no. Gerhard wants to ditch a masterpiece, no matter the danger. To him, the best blades belong to the strongest. Masterpiece finished, the man stood up, silenced the boys, and told Ricardo to enjoy the blade. Both follow as he demands a private meeting with the gentleman. Joseph was stunned. Meeting the king was a massive deal, and he had no clue what his teacher was planning. The count pressed him on Gerhard's words, requesting his time as a pro spellcaster. The master spellcaster's words stunned Ricardo and Joseph, making the king think they hated the reward. Working here leveled up his skills, leaving him forever in his debt. The king didn't get it, declaring this magic sword his life's masterpiece, a peak he'd never surpass. To do better, he asks for time to practice. Stunned, a peer would call him unskilled. The count asks Ricardo for his take. He needs time to master the blade and can to take another from the king. The count wants to force them, not when both the maker and wielder treasure the blade this much. Inspired, the man sighs and grants Gerhard more time. The king challenged him to show a masterpiece from his practice. The old man agreed, his servant bowing in deep gratitude. The king promises the next reward. Ricardo accepts. Free from daily life, he dove headfirst into research. Gerhard's soul is free, and his insane experiments are finally starting. He was itching to see the freed mage spread his wings. The old man tries to leave, but the king blocks him. Gerhard asks what happened. He wanted a katana too. He breezed through and demanded a favor back, leaving the trio jaw-dropped. Gerhard's a proud aristocrat. He promised an easy task, but he's making this challenge impossible. Katanas are rare here. Maximilian tells the old man to keep it simple. He just wants something light. The king left, declaring he'd be waiting impatiently. He had no clue where to find a katana or even a blacksmith. Is it here or hidden abroad? Rutz clears the table. Claudia doubled the food prep, but she also doubled the help. He smiles, glad for the extra hands. Claudia returns with a new job. Hero says, "Watch the door," but she's got news, 5 daggers for 80 silver from Knight's prison. Rutz was shocked. She'd just been sitting in this exact spot for work. Claudia tells him to show some gratitude. The merchant braved this hellhole for his partner. He thanked her, but called her move reckless. She told him to relax and dropped some intel. The knights who stole the katana fought over it until their boss took it. Who has it now? Maybe it's in some aristocrat's sheath. He wants his katana back, but he's got a bigger priority. Dropping his blade earned him this peace. Now he sees Claudia's bright smile every day. This sad sword was breaking Rutz. Now he'll protect this life with Claudia. Dealers A through D had 0 katanas. Some didn't even know they existed. Erhardt says the katana had a previous owner. Obvious Joseph says no. The man berates the student, begs for calm, and demands the katana-s blacksmith. They're shouting, drawing a shocked crowd. Rutz tells Claudia everything's ready, revealing 5 daggers he just forged. Claudia asks if the 80 silver payout is real. A shocked Rutz double-checks the price. She's fuming. 80 silver is a joke for something worth 5 gold. Claudia protested, since the merchant admitted the quality, but Rutz shut her down. The deal was final. He says real smiths hit quality targets within the budget and ignore lost profits. She asks Rutz to confirm the dagger sale. She asks why Rutz tagged along if she had it handled. He says a swordsman makes negotiations easier. They'd already framed an innocent woman, so Rutz refused to let her go alone. She teased he cared too much. Claudia fears they'll be recognized. He shuts him up to avoid being overheard. She says, sell the loot and bail. They storm the tavern, the girl shouting that the order S here. The guys want booze and cards, but she stops them to show the goods first. She forced eyes on the blades, jokingly ordering hands up. A man draws a dagger, the blade flashing blindingly. The men admired the gleaming daggers, stunned to find them sharper than their own swords. The old man wants to test the blades, but the adventurer snaps, "Never point a sword at someone, even for a joke." She tells Ruts they loved them. The blades were top tier. 80 silver for the haul. Ruts calls it a steal. The customer shouts for them to wait. Ruts and his partner spin around, shocked. 80 silver for these. The merchant scoffs and offers only 60. The man calls the design too plain, so the girl apologizes and offers a discount to keep the deal alive. The merchant rages, calling the price a joke for such junk. "Lower it, Ruts, or the deal is off." She sarcastically calls him "dear customer," admitting it's not their best product, but it'll do. Ruts called off the deal. The merchant's shocked, but Rutsu admits he's breaking their deal. These took massive effort to craft. The price isn't 80 silver, it's 5 gold. Rhett mocks the merchant's appraisal and refuses to sell daggers to a lowlife, demanding a discount. The merchant warned the crowd, "Follow Ruts," and the blacksmith shop becomes a laughingstock. Ruts screams, "Those are just excuses for fools." Ruts could drop one, but drawing his blade would trigger the whole mob instantly. Outnumbered and outmatched, he couldn't win, not while keeping Claudia safe. Suddenly, people buy Rutsor's gear with pure gratitude. He's stunned. They actually paid 80 silver coins. One buyer offers extra. Another insists they reworth 5 gold. Claudia hugs Ruts and confirms that the hero just got carried away with his massive job. Ruts perfected his work. They'd see its value if they knew the man says he's still negotiating. The crowd demands answers, blaming the merchant for the failed deal. He claims he acted for the group, but the traders blast him for not asking first. Despite the setbacks, Claudio and Ruts manage to sell every last dagger. She's glad the knights paid for the buyer, but Retz insists it was for her safety. She tells Ruts to hand over the sword he forged if he wants to help her. Claudia wondered why he hiked the price past their deal. She said girls love homemade gifts, but Ruts thought a katana was weird. Heroine asks Ruts for a sword for the girl in love, and he asks if she's embarrassed to talk about herself like that. She teased Retz, asking if he was in love with her. Claudia presses against him, asking if he'll do it. An angry customer storms in, threatening trouble for selling unfinished goods. She asks Ruts if that's why he's worried, and if those daggers are for her. She was lonely in the dungeon and begged him to understand. She confessed she's terrified of being abused in prison. She spoke, nearly causing a disaster, but Rhett noticed her forced cheer. Old Ruts. Her emotions overflowed, realizing how far he'd gone for her. Stunned, Ruts only managed her name. She'd been thinking about that day ever since. She begs for a katana, offering herself as payment. Hero wants her future help, but she calls Ruts a fool for being clueless. She's devoting herself to him, and Ruts is completely flawed. Ruts knew she was beautiful, but now he saw her heart. She actually cared for him. She wanted a hug too, right now. The old man turns to Joseph, but he flatly refuses. Cut the attitude, the man warned. No sword means no training. No one in the city had ever seen a katana. Now, the old man just hoped for a magic sword. He found the katana by luck, but Joseph presses him. Are there any more like it? The old man admits he had one. Joseph says he could have easily gifted it to the count and demands to see the sword. Joseph confirms it's a katana, but next to the magic blade, this thing's a pathetic toy. It's no match for a first-class katana. Joseph gets the hint he has to find it himself. The old man mocks him for forgetting to thank Joseph, catching him completely off guard. The old man rewards him with 20 gold coins. Joseph's stunned by the massive amount and refuses to take it. He claims he's unworthy, but the old man snaps, calling his modesty shameful. The old man asks, what if he just says, I want, reminding Joseph he could have a wife. Find the master smith for 10 gold, plus a bonus for a business deal. The old man questions how Joseph will support his son and start a family. He intros his family and realizes his dream needs cash. At the prison, Joseph hunts for clues where she first appeared. Joseph felt cheated, but he'd do it all for his family. Knight eyed the guards, knowing their rumored stupidity would benefit his future family. Staring at the strange dagger, he couldn't identify the weapon. Another warrior bursts in, demanding the dagger he claims he bought fair and square. The warrior saw the short blade wasn't junk. It was a true weapon. He admired the glittering dagger, wishing its master would forge him a katana. Joseph asks about the katana. The man reveals it was commissioned for the girl they just arrested. He mentions a guy with a 20-year-old girl, the manufacturer himself. Goal in sight, he pictures his wife and son, knowing his mission is almost over. He sees the man, demanding the couple's names, especially the girl's, but the panicked warrior screamed he knew nothing. The warrior mumbles, fighting to recall, as Joseph desperately demands he remember. The old man guesses Clarice, and Joseph confirms it's the tradeswoman he mentioned. He hit every merchant in town. He didn't find her, but he finally got her name. The old man says Clarice is unknown here, and those drunk guards, their memories are trash. The warriors demand another search, certain they will find her, but the old man stops them. He's seen enough. He's taking over the investigation and heading beyond the walls. Joseph says nobles live inside while bandits rot outside. He can fathom why a swordmaster would stay here. The old man warns that smithing takes years of experience to get orders. If Joseph joins, he starts from zero. The man calls Rut's blade a non-guild masterpiece, but Joseph doubts anyone outside the walls has the gear to forge it. The warrior warns Joseph the world outside is massive, and his small mindset is wasting his talent. He asks to scout outside, but the old man refuses to offend the blacksmith. Joseph requests guard duty instead. Furious, the warrior demands why he needs protection. Joseph apologized, admitting he cared too much for those devoted to the sword. The man hands Joseph the cash, warning him to stay safe and protect his family. Later, the old man heads outside the city walls with no set destination. He hit the bars, grilling merchants for info. The warrior realized finding his target wouldn't be easy. He needed a lead, fast. How much longer would this take? Hunting targets in strange lands wasn't his style, and things often turned ugly. He widens the search to find that Blacksmith. The old man figures tools will help the search. He recalls rumors about this place, Lumberjack Village. The warrior realizes that means a blacksmith is nearby to fix his axe. You spotted 2 women at the well, but one played dumb. A woman stops the warrior, asking if the girl linked to that man is Claudia. The old man recognizes her. The women confirm she's the blacksmith's girl, rumored to have stolen their man. The women bragged about their husbands stealing axes from Claudia's boyfriend, thrilled with the results. The old man asks for the girl. They say she's always here to sharpen axes. Expecting her boyfriend today, he hears a ring and bolts toward the sound. The old man recognizes Rutz. It's definitely him, and he's surprisingly young. Rutz sharpened the axe in a flawless, steady rhythm. Only a master makes that sound. The old man knew the rats were his target, but he had zero proof. Claudia bursts in, shouting that the old man's sword looks like a strange dagger. Grinning, she flashed a gleaming dagger at the lumberjacks, bragging it was a gift from her boyfriend. She says one look explains everything. Her husband isn't just sharpening axes, he's a master blacksmith. The sword's glow confirmed it. He was the man who forged it. The old man's stunned. Is he really the magic sword's creator? He's certain he created this kuchi. The old man had to know, was he the true smith or just a fraud? He had to see the process for himself. The warrior asks if she's Claudia the merchant and demands an intro for their first meeting. The old man is Gerhardt, a servant from the Count's arsenal. The girl is stunned. Gerhardt explains the noble's presence. He'd snagged a magnificent sword from prison just yesterday. Gerhardt scoffs. It's not a sword, but she corrects him. It's a katana. The old man realized she knew the magic sword. Gerhardt gave the sword to the Count, but Claudia reveals it's already changed hands. The noble was hooked on the blade too, asking Claudia for a master katana smith. The girl yells a noble see waiting, but Rut snaps back. He want to leave until the job's done. The old man saw skill behind the guy's rudeness, while Claudia noticed Rut's acting strange. Rutz reaches the noble and apologizes for the wait. Rutz introduces himself as a blacksmith, and the old man offers him a job. The boy asks for the katana order. The noble agrees, but has a question first. He asks Rutz if he accidentally forged the sword the knights now wield. Rutz agreed, admitting he forged that blade himself. Gerhardt demands to see the boy's sword, catching Rutz off guard. Rutz asks Gerhardt if he's really forging the sword. The hero showed him the blade, warning it was low-quality junk. Showing the sword wasn't enough. Rutz knew it wouldn't prove his skills to the old man. Masters need backup blades. The old man doubted the smith lacked a personal favorite. Gerhardt figured Rutz was just a reseller peddling someone else's blades. Shocked, he wondered, is this guy a total fraud? Claudia reveals the sword, a masterpiece by Master Rutz. The old man urges calm, but Claudia's fixated on the blade's lethal beauty. She sensed a contradiction. The blade hid a secret kindness. Claudia insists Rutz forged the blade with love, but the others doubt he's the real creator. The old man inspects the hilt, searching for the master's signature. Claudia offers to help, but Rutz suddenly shouts for them to wait. Rutz tells her not to look, claiming it's boring. But Claudia asks if he forgot to sign the sword again. Hero says the letters are set. Claudia demands proof it is his work. Rutz panics over the unready blade, but Gerhardt insists he knows how to handle a sword. Gerhardt notes the kid's hype, figuring he's the creator, then spots an inscription on the hilt and moves in to inspect it. He was certain it wasn't the blacksmith. Someone else did this. The old man mocked her over the love note, leaving her mortified. She laughs, asking what it means. Rutz hides his face, regretting showing her his great idea. Claudia shouts, Rutz loves her, but he begs her to hide the sign while the old man chuckles. Finding a love letter in the handle, the old man realizes only the creator could have hidden it. Rutz wasn't lying. Rutz apologizes for the mix-up, and with things settled, the old man makes his request. He had to finish sharpening axes, telling the men to meet him at the workshop later. Asked if the Count's work was priority, Ruther refused. Breaking his word kills his authority, so he's sharpening those axes first. Gerhardt gets it. He'll be back, and Rutz will wait. He apologizes for the work talk and asks Rutz a question. Rutz tells him to shoot. She asks who has Rutz's old sword now, and Gerhardt knows exactly which one she means. He insisted they talk first. Certain the new owner would ask the same thing, Rutz was stunned. Ricardo owns the sword. As the nation see bravest man, he's the only one worthy. Gerhardt asks if Rutz feels better, noting cowards never find greatness with a blade. Rutz replies that a creator is blessed when a strong warrior wields their steel. He boasts the sword is now even better than Rutz's original, thanks to his spell. The sword's gone demonic, cursing everyone nearby to death. Gerhardt doubted Ricardo even knew how to swing that sword. Rutz feared he'd done something terrible, But the man brushed it off. They were just swordsmiths, after all. Gerhardt tells him to be proud, while the crowd goes wild for Rutz's masterpiece blade. The Count wants a sword, too, and they're asking Rutz for his take. Asked to forge the Count's finest sword, Rutz gladly accepted. Happy with the answer, he offers to enchant the finished blade and asks Rutz for a look. Gerhardt warns against touching his work, but Rutz snaps back. A sword belongs to the fighter. Rutz trims long handles for better control. In battle, handling is life or death. He can mix magic and smithing, but he'll forge the blade for its true purpose. Lament's stoked, vowing to give it his absolute all. Retz asks what sword the Count needs, and the man starts describing it. The old man says the Count can fight, so Rutz picks a light, stylish sword. The girl shouts for Rutz, stunned. She warns that armed nobles are gathering, and Rutz will look like a fool with his decorative sword. The old man agreed. Used or not, the sword must be practical. Light, beautiful, and practical. Rutz called it the perfect sword. Gerhard asks Rutz for his take. Can he forge a sword like this? The old man snaps, demanding to know if Rutz is even listening or just lost in his own world. Rutz guarantees he'll finish everything in just 2 weeks. The cat says he'll see them in 2 weeks and can wait. Rutz praises Gerhard's fencing, convinced he's a master swordsman. Gerhard sadly agrees it was a long time ago. Rutz takes the sword, doubting he can forge a worthy blade. He knows thinking isn't enough. She demands an answer, but Rutz stays silent, lost in thought. She wonders why he's down after landing the dream job. But Rutz gives a shaky denial. Retz was nervous. Facing a nobleman meant his life was about to change forever. Claudia says the tide turned when Rutz hurled his demon sword at the Order, and she's always got his back. Work was everything, the rest was noise. She hoped he didn't start this over, that stupid confession. Gladius offered proof of his love, but Rutz shut her down instantly. Finding his unsent love letter was too easy. Rutz thought he'd kept it safe. Claudius is glad she found out early, calling it romantic, while a stunned Retz asks again. She cheered, finally having enough ammo to tease Rutz for life. She tells Rutz he's late anyway, and orders him straight to bed to rest. She offered her bedroom for comfort, but Rutz screamed at her to stop. Back at the forge, her words haunt him. Everything else is trivial. Claudia was wild, but her light and strength were lessons the hero needed. The client needed a strong, beautiful blade to survive the first strike. Rutz knew the blade's shape. Now he just had to strike. 2 weeks later, Rutz greets Gerhard, who asks if his sword is ready. Hero suggests showing the sword outside. Certain Gerhard will want a test. The old man was mesmerized by Rutz's beautiful blade. Gerhard couldn't resist a few lunges, so Rutz let him test the blade. The old man savored every lunge with this magnificent sword, relishing every movement. Gerhard hears the blade slice the air and praises Rutz for the masterpiece. Shocked, Rutz asks what's wrong. The old man wonders if his top-tier blade isn't good enough. Hero liked it, but the blade isn't finished. It doesn't even have a name yet. The old man rages as it happens again, screaming he's suffered enough from this nameless blade. Rutz admits he's trash at naming, but the old man wants the sword now and demands an immediate engraving. Hero names it the Count's sword, but the old man tells him to get serious. Claudia agrees Rutz can name anything because he has zero sense of beauty. Retz ignores the decorations. If the sword works, he's happy. She suggests Wind Cry since the blade slices the air, but Gerhard thinks Cry is the better name. Claudius named the blade Demon's Lament, a title so fierce it makes even demons weep. Gerhard liked the name and handed over the payment for the sword. Leaving, he shouted that if the Count liked the blade, more were coming. He was certain of it. His partner never expected to work with the Count, but Retz admits it's a dream come true. Time for the fun part, checking the loot. Claudia realizes the bag is way too heavy for just 100 silver coins. The girl screams. Rutz demands answers, suspecting the old man handed them fake coins. Ritz asks if it's true. She confirms exactly 100 gold coins, not silver. The Count tells them to be proud. They forged the legendary sword everyone wants, so it's easily worth 100 gold. Convinced it's no dream, he wonders if the bakery gives change for a gold coin. The heroes don't care what they lost. Gerhard gave Rutz's sword to a decorator. Today, Rutz returns to the castle to deliver it. The kid begged for the rare sword, shouting he'd pay any price. Patrick admired the scabbard, obsessed with his own craftsmanship and the insane detail. The decorator was stunned. Letting this blade go would haunt him forever. He guesses 20 or 30 coins, but the man counters, asking Patrick what the sword is actually worth. Gerhard remembered the sword was the Count's gift and accused the decorator of theft. Patrick sobbed, calling the sword's decorations his masterpiece and a rare achievement. The old man gets it losing. A masterpiece feels like ripping your soul apart. He asks if Patrick's really ditching his elite post, serving the family and the Earl. Gerhard tells Patrick to quit whining while struggling to hold onto the weapon. The old man credits Patrick for the blade's design, letting the trick slide this time. The man mocks Patrick's pathetic puppy eyes, snapping that a sword isn't just wall decor. The old man says the sword is wasted on a non-fighter, and Patrick silently agrees. The Count appears, demanding to know how they dare speak of him like that. Clear skies and zero plans. The Count's resting all day. The guard offers a spar. He eagerly accepts, asking if even kids are swinging swords now. The man offers to whip Sir into shape, but Sir feels sick and bails. Claiming he needed medicine, the Count retreated to his room and dismissed his guards. Joseph says the Excellency wants a sword, the only reason he's forced to train. The Master says there's no choice. Nobody is born strong. Josek felt guilty, but the Master brushed it off as he focused everything on perfecting his ultimate spell. The warrior asks about the move. Master reveals its wind magic, boosting sharpness and cutting weight. Gerhard says a normal blade would be unfinished, but this sword is special. Even weak nobles can wield the ultimate blade. Joseph watches the work, but the Master swears the sword, curse one, strike him this time. Master tells the boy to watch closely. Gerhard shouts he'll give it his all. Joseph stared in disbelief. He praises the Master's work, noting the blade's insane magic output. The Master insists the sword won to let go, proving to Joseph it even resisted the 5 ancient letters. Gerhard says normal swords shatter instantly, but this one's on a whole new level. Joseph wanted to see the blade's power and immediately offered to test it in the yard. These swords pierce the wind, he shouts, asking the Master to try a few thrusts. Confused, the hero asks, shouldn't the sword sound the same? Master says the sound depends on the swing and how the wind cuts it. Gerhard mocked the kid, laughing at his pathetic sword skills. The boy begs for a retry, but the man wants to let sweat ruin the gift. Magic blades easily corrupt swordsmen. Gerhard asks if the hero will snap and desert his family. Joseph lives for them, but his master just told him to quit. Master says the Count will love the sword. Seeing the kid looks just like Patrick, he asks if he feels it too. He told us to cheer up someday. Master Lutz will forge us our own swords. Joseph asks for an enchanted blade, but the Master turns him down. Master says he'll handle it alone once he becomes a Master Sorcerer. He's a Master Sorcerer's apprentice. He's got to protect his own property. Slumped in his workshop, the Master lamented his zero motivation. After the great sword, ordinary blades felt like nothing. Gerhard felt ashamed, but if the cat liked the sword, that was enough. A guest admires the Count's sword, calling the masterpiece Demon's Lament. The Count never used it. Fighting isn't for nobles. Weapons belong on the wall. He begged his master for forgiveness for letting his blade rust away. The old man screamed they'd never be forgiven. He screamed in despair, trapped in his room and lost in empty fantasies. Galehard forgets the sword, catches his breath, and gathers energy for a new blade. He started planning the sword he'd one day forge. The master expected a sword Galehard's aging, so the blade must be elegant and practical. The old man wondered how to forge the blade from his vision. Galehard heard a noise coming from the yard. Galehard spots a young man staring. The man asks why Galehard's making that face while swinging a sword. He just felt like it. The Count thanked the old man for the masterpiece, but the master told him no thanks were necessary. The sword was so perfect, he wondered if just owning it was enough to be proud. The Count asks to learn fencing, insisting a sword isn't just for show. Admiring a sheathed sword is like bragging about a wife you never talked to. It's pure stupidity. Suddenly, the master begs for forgiveness, admitting he was a total snob. The Count agreed, reminding the old man of his own words. The sword belongs in the hands. The Count must master the sword, secrets to truly own it. The blade rang with arrogance, as if applauding his swing. Gerhard calls it one perspective, but the ultimate way to learn. The Count asks for advice, and Gerhard tells him to use a two-handed grip. He's shocked a sword can change a man's heart, while Gerhard notes the ruts make it elite. Rutz's sudden laugh catches Gerhard off guard, instantly shattering his anxiety. The old man gets carried away, realizes the Count is trash, and calls it a day. Gasping for air, the warrior refused to let the crying demon's blade claim him yet. Gerhard's stunned by the Count's transformation. He suggests building a strong body first, and when the kid apologizes, the old man brushes it off. The old man thinks the Count wants the sword's glory, wondering what happened to the last guy who claimed it the same way. Gerhard wondered if his foe was finally wielding the legendary sword. The warrior roars, "Shut up," and charges the beast. The monster cackles. If that sword snaps, he's finished. Stunned by the orc's insane power, the warrior realized he couldn't win and fell into despair. The orc is twice as strong as the mutants, and the hero knows he can to win. The monster spots the second sword and demands he draw it or get sliced in half. He hesitates to draw the demonic sword, but it's use it or die. The warrior draws his blade, and the monster gasps at its incredible power. He was right, and it was a nightmare. That woman stood right beside him, smiling ominously. She whispered in his ear, and he thought it was a curse. The orc mocks his strength, leaving the warrior completely confused. He asks the orcs if they see the woman. Stunned, the sword's curse failed. Ark calls it a waste to kill him so easily and readies his strike. The orc leader swings, screaming he'll kill the man and claim his sword. The warrior stares in shock as the orc kills himself with a smile. The orcs are baffled. Did that sword just force their comrade to kill himself? Terrified the sword is cursed, the orcs flee in panic. Even the minions bolted. He realized their power was the real deal. The warrior eyes the strange sword, wondering if his enemy is actually dead. The Lord's stunned. Is that a giant orc or a mutant? The man claims he never mentioned mutants. Gerhard snaps back. Tell the truth, and no one shows up. Lord apologized to Ricardo, insisting this was the only way to prevent a repeat. Ricardo asked what was wrong. Usually, the Count hangs on every report, like a kid hearing a fairy tale. Suspecting the stranger influenced the Count, he asked how he'd slain the beast. Cornered, Ricardo unleashed the demon sword, channeling Gerhard's dark magic. The sword enchanted the orc, and he immediately killed himself. The Count doubts Ricardo can even swing a sword, asking if he has anything else to say. Ricardo warns his lord, this power is a curse. The orc died with a smile. Everyone's stunned to see the dead body move. The elder admits he's uneasy discussing the sword he gave the master. He's terrified of his own blade once drawn. It charms humans and demons alike. The crowd tensed as he warned this demonic blade strikes enemies, allies, and even its own master. The bearded man snaps and yells at the narrator. He already knows everything. He warns him, this place saved your life, so calling him a demon is pure ingratitude. Livid, he keeps blasting the knight, demanding he thank the weapon first. The knight's shocked. Is this old man really forcing him to thank a sword? The king sighs at their bickering and agrees. He draws his steel to him. The blade bridges life and death, and even this ruler gives thanks to his weapon. The knight didn't get their views. To him, a sword was just a tool. The old man explains that smiths pour their souls into the steel and warriors bet their lives on it. It's more than just a tool. In the throne room, the old man crosses his arms and turns away, leaving the king to let out a heavy sigh. The knight puzzled over the heavy silence, wondering if he'd finally lost his mind. He shook it off. Everything was too weird, especially everyone's bizarre obsession with their weapons. The king broke the silence and faced Ricardo. The boy had zero connection to his sword. The ruler hates nameless blades. He tells the boy, name the sword, and you'll have a shot at claiming it. The swordmaster likely named him, so the prince demands a recommendation from Gerhardt. Ricardo didn't get why names matter, but he got a long lecture. A sword is a warrior's soul, and a great name makes it shine. The old man wagged a finger, warning the boy he'd finally get a name from the blacksmith. Did he understand? Checking his map, he senses something wrong. Everyone looks like a puppet, possessed by their own swords. He reached the door, mind racing. He loved collecting blades, but treating them like people, not his style. He swore never to be such a fool with a blade. The door swings open, and a girl appears, asking the knight who he is. He admired the shop, but only asked for Master Lutz, his sword's creator. The mistress's eyes widened at the sight of his blade. She shouted inside, the sword is back, and the hero's here. Ricardo's shocked. The master is so young, but the master's ecstatic to see his weapon. The blacksmith knew why they came. He had to name the cursed blade. She says seeing a suicidal orc with that look would traumatize her, but the guys are completely clueless. Ricardo's never seen a death this brutal. This blade makes its owner hallucinate. The master built a monster. He squirmed, totally embarrassed by the praise. He clutched his head. This blacksmith was a total moron, just like everyone else. She asks what kind of hallucinations he is seeing. The knight identified the woman, admitting his mind wasn't his own. The master knew, but his companion demanded more. Trapped, he draws his blade. A sweet scent hits the air, and suddenly a blood-soaked, creepy girl is standing right behind him. One slip, and Ricardo's cursed to die. The master knew it. The girl's blood was the trigger. The blacksmith finds a name, but she shuts him down, fearing he'll pick something edgy, like bleeding girl. He scowled at their bickering. The master was pissed. He missed his shot, but the girl stood firm. She knew hearing Lutz say that name would rot their ears. She grabs the sword, recalling the words about a sweet-smelling woman. This weapon is actually a girl. He watched her treat the sword like a person, wondering if a blade could actually have a gender. She suggested Tsubaki, a flower name perfect for a woman. Ricardo doubted the plan. It was way too elegant for a demonic sword. Wrong. The chameleon flower sheds every petal at once, its grace a perfect match for this beautiful blade. He asked the knight for other ideas, but got nothing. Camellia was the perfect fit. Name set. The blacksmith grabbed the sword to record it instantly, The guy tried to stop him, drawing, "That blade was a reckless mistake. It needs special storage." The boy offers the blade, but the master refuses, certain it won to hurt him. He doubted the blacksmith, but the smith knew the truth. He forged it himself. Ricardo was sick of these weirdos. He couldn't understand why they worshipped the demon sword more than its master. The smith grabbed his hammer, but froze. The blade was under massive pressure. A terrifying woman looms behind him. She reached for his throat, but the blacksmith sensed her instantly. One look back meant certain death by her hands or his own. The master wasn't afraid. He was actually grateful. She saved Klaus and landed Lutz's massive connections. She started it all. He thanks her again as the blood and malice vanish from her image. Honoring her journey, the smith names her Tsubaki and carves it straight into her sword's hilt. As the knight leaves, the smith asks if he'll use the blade soon. He will. He's hunting werewolves. Knowing Ricardo's skill, he hands over his sword, asking him to treat her well. The knight nods. He heads into the forest, sighing. As Benice rings in his head, he stays wary. This is a demon's sword, and a name alone won to tame it. Keeping the blade sheathed was the plan, but these monsters were terrifying. 5 werewolves. Knight can't handle them all at once. He draws his sword again, even if the blade puts him at a bigger disadvantage. A monster spots him and lunges, swinging massive claws. Ricardo dodges the strike, but he's already surrounded. Forced to draw his blade, he hesitates as the werewolf lunges again. Remembering to honor his blade, the boy faces a relentless werewolf swarm, shredding the knight. A sword is a warrior's soul, name it well, and it shines, surrounded on 3 sides. He freezes, paralyzed by doubt. He wasn't like those sword-obsessed fools he couldn't have blindly trust. The blade doubts were tearing him apart. He draws his blade, shouts his name, and orders a curse on the monsters. Instantly, they start to change. Howling in agony, the werewolves claw their faces and rip each other apart as the young man watches in horror. The wolves are dead. They mutilated themselves and slaughtered their own pack. The lone survivor lunges at the knight, who instantly swings back. One swing splits the monster in half. Even he's shocked. Tsubaki's true power awakens, manifesting a demonic woman behind him. She turns to the swordsman, asking if she's truly strong. Sweet face, big eyes, soft smile, the terror vanished without a trace. Ricardo is torn, a legendary hero built on raw skill. He's a master of the blade, but lacks any shred of emotion. Everything's different now. That moment left a permanent scar. Back at the castle, the old man worries he went too far with Ricardo. He knew the boy wasn't his student. The man tried to calm the tension, arguing everyone fights differently, and the old man has the right to judge. He told the master not to worry. Ricardo loved the sword. The knight's resting at the inn-post mission, so he offers to visit. They crashed the visit. The old man noticed the kid's shock. Did something go down on that mission? Ricardo slept, clutching his weapon like a girlfriend, and the guests couldn't unsee the resemblance. Tsubaki strikes again, as Gerhard stays calm. Seeing this sword, crazed freak, Tsubaki refuses to end up like him. Life has its peaks and valleys. When one person takes the spotlight, another is cast into the shadows. Gerhard sits with his mug as a persistent knock rattles the door. Someone's looking for a man. The master opens the door, recognizes Barubis Chiaran, and asks what he wants. The man reveals Gerhard's 10 custom daggers, delivered straight from the forge the moment they were finished. The master thanks Barubis, sends him to Joezo with the order, and hands over 10 gold pieces for him to verify. Gerhard noticed the guest wouldn't leave. Barubis told the blacksmith to go home, hinting the dagger didn't even hurt him. He added, "Didn't the count demand a gift, since the hero keeps stealing his credit? Credit deserves reward." The smith thinks the kid is rushing for his blade, but the old man knows Barubas is the one truly losing patience. Gerhard revealed Ricardo already had a sword and wouldn't need a new one, crushing the blacksmith is heart. As a subordinate handles the box, the man asks how long this lasts. The answer is grim. The hero might carry that sword for 20 years, or until his dying breath. Orders were vanishing, and things looked grim, but the guest still believed his blades were vital. They were on the same side, after all. The master snapped back. He wasn't doing this for the workshop or Baruba. He didn't order because the old man didn't need it simple. He waved the guest away. Leave now or get tossed out as a suspicious creep. He agrees to leave, but asks one last thing: who gets the daggers? He hoped for the knights, but he was wrong. They're for the apprentice. The blacksmith fumed. Did this guy not get it? Lose control of your magic and the weapon shatters. That's the whole point of the training. Barubas left, fuming. He'd poured his soul into those daggers, but Gerhard wouldn't care if they shattered. The knight feared the blacksmith would be furious after hearing about the apprentice. No insult intended. The old man just needed blades tough enough for training, but when he pops the lid, they were both stunned. Stunning, jeweled silver daggers, Patrick's style. Maybe he made them. 1 gold coin for this job. The knight and the old man weren't buying it. Gerhard flipped 3 gold into a 10-coin profit, making the blacksmith look like a total amateur. Forget the profit. He had to please the count for the next job. The dagger was top tier, so he gave the master some props. Gerhard tossed the blade in disgust. To him, weapons were total trash. The man asks if the knight remembers owning the demon's cry sword. He loved swinging it. The old man said these blades should feel identical, but none of them did. He was certain a real blade must spark the urge to kill, but the master's bloodlust made him uneasy. He asked Gerhard where to find Barubas, since they were old friends. The old man hated the question, but the knight meant no harm. He just sensed a secret bond between them. Speaking wasn't the problem, he was just too ashamed. The kid grinned, hooked, and demanded the full story. The master rubbed his eyes, trapped. He asked Joe what a legendary sword meant, but the kid was clueless. After explaining, the knight defined it as a blade passed down through generations. Sounds romantic. Gerhard lives by the sword, so he should worship this legendary blade. He recounts his adventurer days from 40 years ago. He and 3 allies spent years raiding the labyrinth to claim the legendary sword. The team hunted the blade for glory, but he'd lost count of their dungeon attempts. Luck was on their side. The plan was working perfectly, and they weren't about to miss this chance. They reached the depths, but something was already waiting, striking pure horror into the group. A massive unknown monster guards the treasure, terrifying even the men. Clueless and outmatched, the group refused to flee for the treasure, but the beast was too strong and snatched the girl. Blinded by greed, the weak humans charged the enemy and paid the price. The Seekers fought hard, but only ended up broken. They slay the demon, but lose 2 comrades. Seeing their friends' mangled corpses, the survivors realized they were nothing. He reminds his comrade why they fight: open the chest, claim the legendary sword, and seize the glory they deserve. His friends died as heroes, and their sacrifice wouldn't be in vain. They reached the treasure, ready to finally reveal the sacred weapon. Inside sat a rusty blade, a total letdown, all that effort wasted. Shazel's stunned. The chest holds the legendary bronze sword. He asks the master if they searched the archives. They did, proving the document is a fake. Gerhard refused to back them. The archives are centuries old. In the age of stone axes and clubs, the bronze sword was a treasure of unrivaled sharpness. Once the ultimate labyrinth blade, now it can even pierce a common soldier's armor. Modern blades outclass ancient steel, but Gerhard's crew was blinded by the legendary hype. The loot was worthless, and their friends were dead. He slammed his blade against the stone, shattering it instantly. Only Gerhard and Berubis survived. Both quit adventuring, and the friend became a blacksmith. The old man apprentices to the sorcerer, both choosing new paths after their bitter labyrinth ordeal. Berubis didn't care how old those labyrinth swords were. Master the craft, and you'll forge a weapon that terrifies the world for centuries. His friends thought they could build the weapon alone. He remembers it with sadness. He stood up, fearing he'd gone too far. But Josel disagreed. In that moment, he finally understood the master's obsession with making weapons. Berubis matches the old man's fire, but he just chuckles. That was 40 years ago. The old man adds his friend lost his edge, becoming a boring hack who only makes basic junk. He only cared about his master's rank. Enraged, he doubted this was the legendary sword. Furious, Berubis demands info on the Count's favorite blade maker, but the man knows nothing and doubts any craftsman even knows him. The boy warns the smith to hurry, miss the guild meeting, and he loses his spot. As usual, the foreman kicks off the meeting by assigning tasks. A massive order just dropped, forcing the whole crew to grind together this month. Berubis scowled, arms crossed. He was the one who always handled the fair counts. They were stolen, and he'll never forgive it. Rumors fly, Berubis lost his job with the Count. The other smiths mock him for losing everything to a stranger when he had the upper hand. Pain flared in his chest. Was he really this shaken? He was stunned. He's livid. He doesn't need pity from people who never helped before. The blacksmith shivers and sweats. Another master questions his weird reaction, but he insists everything's fine. Berubis visits Patrick, who greets him warmly. He's there to ask about the sword given to the shop owner. The guy danced through the workshop, raving about the perfect job. Thrilled to sew for the beauty, he refuses to lie, but his dodging enrages the blacksmith, who demands answers, not a performance. Berubis grills him for the smith's name and sword markings, but Patrick shuts him down. Some secrets stay private. Coins spilled out, but he didn't care. He demanded a talk between masters, and this bribe clearly wasn't enough. Fiddling with a coin, he notes the guest is hype. They read desperate to talk, but he couldn't care less. He finally spills it. The sword is the crying demon, forged by Lutz. Bervis was clueless. Was someone like that really in the guild? Patrick hinted they'd be hiding behind the wall. A simple blacksmith from behind the wall? Nonsense. How could guild rejects forge weapons this good? Patrick blames the guild, asking Berubis why they even exist. Berubis is blindsided by the sudden shift. The blacksmith explains guilds control material sales and train smiths, a system Beruba himself relies on. He agreed, but doubted the last part. He laughed. Wasn't training and protecting new masters the top priority? Counting his coins, he realizes the system doesn't protect artisans. It protects the masters. The guild limits master slots, making every high achiever a direct threat. Berubis is starting to sweat. Patrick's master couldn't handle his talent, so he sent him away to train and vanished into the shadows for years. The blacksmith laughed, finding it hilarious that a talented apprentice like Lutz got booted from the guild. He didn't trust Berubis. The master teased secret techniques but refused to teach, paranoid that a tech leak would destroy his workshop. Patrick gets in the master's face, doubling down. The guild exists to train artisans, and he's right. Berubis's hypocrisy made the kid doubt the guild's purpose, so he grilled the man on his workshop's nasty reputation. The blacksmith shuts his eyes as the boy delivers the harsh truth. Without an apprentice, everyone thinks his legacy is dead. Rumors called the place an artisan's graveyard. The master grew uneasy, fuming with rage and annoyance. Chest pain strikes again, but he denies it. He's got apprentices to feed. Pain flared, making him tremble. He stood proud, pouring everything into top pay and elite training for his successors. It was all for them. Patrick's stunned, but he recovers fast, dismissing it all as mere rumors. Turning away, he wished the guest wouldn't just be okay, but better than everyone else. Barubas trembles, hunting for the leak. The name Graveyard of Craftsmen haunts him, burying his 40-year legacy in an instant. He wasn't taking this lying down, and called Wilson. The top apprentice answered the call, ordered to pour every ounce of skill into forging a new blade. He demanded to know the blade's target, but the teacher shut him down. It wasn't for sale. Barubas turns this into a promotion exam while the other workers listen in. He gets the message, vows his ultimate strike, and bolts. The other students are stunned, the limits are gone. They debated Wilson's fate. The kid was aging, and with a new heir chosen, they feared they'd be trapped forever. Barubas poured 40 years of mastery into his students, and now they had to prove his life's work wasn't a waste. Wilson grinds while his co-workers gossip. Will the master and apprentice even accept? Some bet Wilson will just overcomplicate things and fail. Days later, Wilson finishes and rushes to show the teacher his maxed-out tech. The blacksmith admires the blade. His nervous apprentice waits for a sign, but the master stays unreadable and shuts his eyes tight. Barubas drops to his knees, blade still raised. The boy panics, fearing something happened to him. He looked up, smiling through tears, asking the teacher if he was okay and if the work was good. The master praises the kid's perfect work, but something's off about this blade. Useless. It was a soulless, upgraded copy of a basic iron rod, leaving the students stunned. Barubas realized his workshop's nickname was dead on. He only trained mindless mass producers. He begged for forgiveness, vowing to train them all. Wilson was completely lost. To become a master, he must retest his blade's strength and present it at the next meeting. With the Earl's seal, Wilson becomes the new workshop master. The blacksmith cheers him on, and Wilson is hyped for the sudden promotion. The apprentices cheered, but Barubas knew he wasn't master material. He just wanted to forge better blades. As master, he only cared about his rank, constantly screaming at his subordinates. He exhaled. No longer a master, he's finally free. But what's his next move? He didn't just want to swing a blade, he wanted to surpass his own limits. At the tavern, Gerhard senses trouble. Barubas cuts to the chase. He needs an intro to Lutz the blacksmith. Gerhard's shocked his friend dropped the master title so easily, but his comrade admits he was just too stubborn to quit sooner. Sipping his mug, the man insists he hasn't retired. The elder laughs. Bad news for the apprentice. He knew his friend called because of the trouble. Barubas demanded Lutz again, catching the man completely off guard. The kid's face flashed in his mind. Did the blacksmith sell him out to the guild? The master insisted the guild wasn't the reason, he only cared about the meeting. He had to learn smithing from him, but his friend was totally clueless. He's baffled. His comrade quits, yet the master expects to just hand over new skills for free. Barubas thumps his chest, offering to trade his skills to hook the kid's interest. Gerhard hated bowing to someone so young, but the master didn't care. The blacksmith's having a blast. Masters by 20, these loud apprentices make the old man grin. His friend clearly came prepared. The old man agrees to recruit the kid, knowing the master relies on him completely. The guys visit a beaming Lutz, blindsided by their technical exchange offer. Hart asks again, is he really ready to risk his gear for this deal? Scratching his head, he admits he can trade inside the city. A tech monopoly is worthless, and he's really after Barubas' skills. Hyped to be useful, the man vowed to share every secret. The guy thanked him, but he wasn't done yet. He still believed he was the absolute best at sharing sword-making secrets. The guests weighed his words, the old man finally admitting the blacksmith's success. Barubas stood up. Bowing, the man asked Lutz for the ropes. He reached out for a win-win deal, and they shook on it. 2 swords were forged. One was dangerously overpowered, the other a magicless failure. Testing his new power, the boy shatters the dagger and gem. He apologizes instantly, but Gerhard just roars with laughter. He tells his disciple not to worry, jewels are just fuel, and he'll be crushing dozens more into dust. The old man screams at Josel to stay calm. These jewels are just rocks, if he's afraid, and fear means he'll never be a master. Dawn to quit now. Minutes later, he forges one last blade with his final strength. The teacher inspects it, pokes a target, and it starts to smoke. The blade erupts in flames. The master grins, his student just forged a fire dagger. If it's too slow to light, it's useless in a fight. The old man wouldn't build junk like that. The old man explains fire only works on one dagger. It's the most versatile element, and every adventurer wants it. 15 gold coins. Josel's stunned. This is pure profit. He laughs, explaining he needs more spells to turn a profit, but tells the guy not to worry yet. He reminds him training isn't over, get back to work. Gerhard watches his apprentice and decides to hammer the skills in diligence pays off, but staring out the window, he wonders, is he doing better than Josel? I tracked Barubas's growth while the master studied Lutz's every move. They beat and straighten tamahagane powder to forge these swords, hammer the tamahagane into small squares, use soft iron for the core and hard steel for the skin. Pile the steel and cook it. Stack the tamahagane and steel balls onto the lever plate. Heat it all and fold it into one lump. Scrub the edge, notch it, flip, and strike 8 times for iron, 15 for leather. Wrap the iron in skin, heat it, and hammer them into a single piece. Hammered into a rod, it's finally forged into a sword. Striking the core builds layers. 2 metals make it rock hard, yet unbreakable, the secret to its strength. Barubas froze as the sword awakened, completely lost by the man's words. Turns out the old master's been breathing life into his work for years. Young Barukas once swung with that same sincerity, always pushing to be the best. Pure pleasure hits him as his old fire for forging swords roars back to life. The assistant peeks into the workshop with tea. Seeing the old master drenched in sweat, she calls for a break. He agreed. A break was definitely worth it. The blacksmith refused. He's strong enough and eager to learn from the young master. He sat there sulking, but the assistant grinned. The guy lives for swords. The apprentices watched closely, wondering if the newcomer was one of them. Master trains the rookie, leaving the crew stunned by how much fun they were having. The boys realized Barubas was gone. Their master had replaced them with a stranger and was actually having fun. Wilson watched. Knowing the old man had to go, he'd already stepped down, and staying would only make people doubt who the real master was. On the cliff's edge, Gerhard asks his old friend, was Lutz's training actually worth it? He was satisfied, and his face said it all. A wild technique. In a world of unique blades, a master never gets bored. Gerhard's stunned. The former sulker is finally talking, but his friend tells him to shut it. The blacksmith was stoked. He finished cleaning and was ready to ignite. It was a grind, but nothing was wasted. He raised his fists, ecstatic, now one with heaven, earth, and God. He laughed like a madman. His friend was livid, doubting the exhausted master could forge again, but the blacksmith vowed to craft an even better blade. Baruba admits Lutz is arrogant, but his legendary blades prove he's the real deal. The old man called the whole squad fools for playing hero with a single bronze sword. Gerhard wants to visit their friends' graves after the war, but the master is stunned those graves don't exist. He joked about laying flowers in the labyrinth, and the old man didn't object. Their argument heats up. The blacksmith fears the labyrinth is too deep, but his friend reminds him they've cleared it before, even if they're both getting too old for this. Barubas bets, tossing his homemade sword into the chest, will beat the bronze one. Gerhard warns them not to be too nice, or he'll regret leaving. His crew just laughs. He held an ancient relic, a katana turned to charred iron with an unbearable stench. The blacksmith hid his work. If Gerhard laughed, the ghosts of his dead friends would return. The master stared at his failed blade, realizing it wasn't a true sword. Were 40 years of experience all for nothing? He eyed the iron in the bucket and pulled a piece closer. He refused to quit, vowing to try until he won. He dove back into the work, while the other apprentices just watched. The young masters were pissed. Their old boss was moving on and actually enjoying his forging. Work continues, but he keeps forging iron rods instead of swords. The next blade looks perfect until it snaps in half, forcing him to find a way to stop the splitting. The blacksmith scribbles, hanging on his every word. Time passed, and the result was finally ready, the master drenched in sweat as usual. The katana looked solid. Decent for a rookie, it'll slay goblins just fine. He's satisfied. Seeing his reflection, he recalls his first forge, his master, looked like he'd created a legend. Now he'll craft his own masterpiece. Paribus joked about filling every box with katanas, still way better than bronze swords. He kept quiet. Gert was a veteran smith who could easily forge the katana himself. He needed a break, but the master pushed through to face the fifth immediately. Iron clangs again. The old master is back at the forge. After more training, he finally hears the iron breathe. Barubas's vision and the blade's true form matched perfectly. He knew a masterpiece was coming. He craved that razor-sharp edge, feeling a rare, perfect piece. This was true happiness until the blacksmith suddenly coughed up blood. He's stunned. His heart hammers against his ribs as blood surges through his veins. Baruba promised Gerhard he'd see their prize soon, and he's forging it with his own hands. The legend fails. He raises his hammer for one last strike, but his body gives out. He collapses, ending his journey forever. Friends and students flocked to see the old master off. Whispers spread behind the old man. The blacksmith died at his forge, found by an apprentice this morning. The girl honors Borobas with flowers. He rests in peace, a blacksmith until the end, despite his parents' wishes. Flowers drift for the smith who died forging. The assistant prays while Gerhard and Lutz watch the river. He's handed a long bundle, catching him off guard. The old man says, Abarobisa held an unfinished katana. That fool was too obsessed to stop. The man hands over the weapon, asking the smith to finish the job. Shocked he's chosen over his master, the smith agrees. The student rejected the katana. He knew nothing about swords, so the old man could keep it even. The dead guy was trash with a blade. The old smith was desperate to finish the job, but he failed, and it was his own fault. Take the package, Gerhard. I trusted the master, and everything that happened was just his life as a blacksmith. The kid stepped up to finish the job. This was his life's work. He's stunned. The blade is 80 finished, with only hardening and polishing left. The right sequence ensures sharpness. Oil cracks the steel, with zero room for error. The master plunges the blade into water. Unpolished steel hides its quality, but the smith felt the truth. Barupus didn't die in vain. The master begins the polish. I just scored a total masterpiece. The smith hands Gerhard the finished katana, ready for action, and a name. She names him Itetsu, and the others ask what it means. The name means a power-hungry sword, forged by a man who craves it just as much. The old man gripped his weapon confidently, giving Tetsu a friendly look. He loved it, promising his friend it's now his go-to sword. The blade's heavy, the smith made it too long. He pictured his friend laughing, telling him to just lighten and shorten the blade. He brushed the thoughts aside. The weapon was already his. The old man won't shorten the blade. His body just needs to adapt. Gerhard hunts for a training spot. A rock blocks his path. Surprised, he moves on to find a better area. The blacksmith's image flashed again as Barubus demanded Itetsu's full power. Bag dropped, challenge accepted. Swords aren't for stones. 3 words fill his mind. Useless, meaningless, careless. Too clumsy for a katana, he swings anyway to show off. He slices the rock, the blade stays perfect, and the old man's thrilled, a true masterpiece. Gerhard felt reborn. This was his masterpiece. He proudly hoisted his new favorite weapon, the legendary blade. The man hoped Barubis saw it all,